Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to preview round 14 of the 2026 NRL Fantasy season. So before we talk about my team, as I scratch my nose there, we'll go through the who's hot and who's not lists based on trades across the league so far this week. And number one on the who's hot list this week is Terrell May. Obviously a keeper in the middle. Tigers have great buy coverage. There's probably a bit of cash become available thanks to the injury to his teammate, who we'll talk about in a minute. So I think it absolutely makes sense that Terrell May is the number one option this week. At number two, Payne Haas is an interesting one. I said he was a flat-out avoid in my Supercoach preview. However, with fantasy, it's a bit different, and I guess probably if I understood the rules a bit earlier, I might have attacked the buys a little bit differently. But because you only need 13 in both round 15 and 16, the fact that he won't play in those rounds with Origin and then the buy for the Broncos means he's one you can hold during that period. But at the same time, he's only going to play 2 of the next 6 fixtures. So, obviously, if you've got the coverage like a Jackson Ford on the bye this week, obviously you've already got Terrell May. You might be running with a Toby Couchman as well. And Payne Haas is the next one up. You could look at bringing him in. But I don't think he should be number 2 on the list. Number 3, Jacob Kiraz. So, bit up in the air whether he's actually going to play on Monday, whether he's going to play fullback or he's going to play wing. We know he can score well regardless of where he plays because of his style of play. But there's probably more that calf injury concern. Like, he has been known to push through injuries, but then also he has been known to have limited scoring when carrying injuries. So, yeah, as an owner, I can't begrudge people bringing him in. The dual position's nice. Obviously, the scoring ability's nice. But it's one of those ones where it's almost too late to change out of it by the time we get to the game on Monday if he's a late out. Number 4, Kai Pearce-Paul. So another Tigers option that's going to be really great for the upcoming bye rounds. But is still a keeper in his own right, so you could hold him for the rest of the season. So I think you can bring him in. Toby Couchman at number 5. Might not seem like the best option because he has the bye next week, but again, you only need 13 for that week. So if you've got cover in your middle and your edge positions, he could be a great option for this week, and then after that. At number 6, Xavier Willison. We do like Willison when he plays lock. I haven't looked at his price to be fully honest. 627k, so definitely a more affordable type option. I guess I just probably haven't thought about my round 16 coverage too closely to whether I could afford to hold him through that. But we'll have a look in a minute, and I'm not above changing my trades last minute. Number 7, Jack Bostock. So one of the beneficiaries of the updates with dual positioning. So I know I've got a couple on my team, which definitely adds a bit more flexibility to the squad, which is nice. So he's now wing, fullback, and centre. So given the Dolphins now cover the rest of the Origin period, he offers that dual position flexibility. I think he's a great pick. At number 8, Joe Tarpany. So yeah, he's got some good buy coverage coming up. Obviously, strong scorer in the middle. Initially, I did talk about trading him in, but I'm going to go a slightly different direction. I'll talk about why in a minute. But yeah, I think he's a good shout. At number 9, Latrell Siegwald. So Latrell Mitchell's injury timeline has dragged on a bit, so he should play the next couple of weeks, which obviously he's making some nice cash. Um, yeah, the coverage in round 15 is handy. He does have the buy in round 16. Um, and then you'd imagine he could be available for round 18 as well if Latrell Mitchell comes back and looks good for Origin 3. At number 10, Reece Walsh. Um, so probably an interesting option. But you do run the risk of him getting picked for Origin next week, and you don't actually have him available for round 15 coverage. And just also the fact he's got a 64 break even means he could be potentially cheaper in a few weeks' time. So, yeah, I'm not going to bring him in this week. Understand the thought process, but yeah, I think he's going to be picked for Origin, and then his scoring over the next 6 weeks is limited. Suafa-Lungo, so interesting one to bring in this week, given he won't play next week, unless you truly believe he's a season-long keeper and you can work around him. As an owner, I think it's okay to hold, but I wouldn't be trading him in. So, yeah, an interesting one there. Number 12, Isaiah Iongi's an interesting one, back from injury. Will cover the next pair of bye rounds. So, yeah, I don't hate it as a bit of a pod move. At number 13, Cam McInnes. So, with the injury carnage there at the Sharks, might be asked to take a bit more of a workload in terms of the leadership of the team as well. I think he might even be the captain from memory. So yeah, I think he could be a handy option in the middle through the rest of the Origin period. Nathan Cleary at number 14. So I guess if you don't have him, he's the number one fantasy player in the game. Bring him in. And then number 15, Jaden Campbell. So I was sort of a bit skeptical about holding Campbell when he made the move to 5'8", but still seems to be scoring pretty well. So if you're looking for a premium option to replace Hines with while he's injured, Campbell could be your guy there. On the Who's Not list this week, you've got Alex Twal at number 1. So I think a lot of people going Twal to May, and that absolutely makes sense given the timeline. 4 to 6 weeks with the injury. Number 2, Blake Brayley. So another one on that 4 to 6 injury timeline. I guess Holker's a little bit harder to replace, but it is a lot of money to hold during that time, given you're only got a squad of 21 in fantasy. So I think he's one we've got to trade out of this week. At number 3, Setu 2. He's probably done the job for us in terms of making cash. Has the bye next week, so probably can jump off early if you want. Jackson Ford, I'd probably hold given that he's going to be very good for the rest of the Origin period after this week, unless you're overloaded on Warriors assets. But even then, I think he's one of the premium ones to hold. So I don't agree with that trade out. Lasardi, another one who's probably done his job, has the bye next week, so can probably move him on. Trey Mooney, copy and paste, done his job for us. On the bye next week, he can go. Tommy Chester, another one on the bye next week, can probably be let go. But in saying that, he's been scoring so well, he's dual position, so he's one I'm probably going to try and hold. I think he's a very handy bench cover for our final teams. Latrell Mitchell, so the injury timeline's extended by a couple of weeks, so can definitely try and use his cash this week. Nico Hines, so still out for a few weeks. Again, pretty hard to cover and hold all of these injured assets. So I think you can trade him out. Nick Meaney injured, he can be traded out. Thomas McKaylee didn't even realise he'd be that highly owned to be on this list, but by next week he can go. Scott Drinkwater, by next week he can go. Pat Carrigan injured, he can go. Cooper Bye's an interesting one. He'll be a number for you coming up in the next weeks, but probably has peaked in cash. So if you can get to a keeper, you could let him go. And then Joash Papali'i, so still sort of in the frame this week, I believe, unless I've got the team list wrong. Still, I think got a decent break even as well. 28's not beyond the realms of possibility. So at the moment, I'm holding just because I've got other trades to make. So yeah, so those are the most popular trade-ins, trade-outs. So yeah, with my team this week, with the injury carnage, we've gone large. We're going to use all 4 trades for the first time at this season, which is pretty wild considering we don't have that many left. But we are looking ahead to the next few weeks. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they're all available for that duration. So the first trade was Lasardi out to KPP. Obviously, like for like, edge for edge. KPP has the buy coverage. Lasardi's starting to dip in price. So easy swap there. I'll just skip down to the next one, another easy one. Twal and May, sort of very, again, similar price, similar profile in terms of the buy coverage. So I think that was a straightforward trade. After that, initially I'd gone Nico Hines to Joe Tarpany. But then when I looked at the team, I've got a lot of coverage in the middle for next week. I've got Terrell May, Aaron Clark, Jackson Ford. So I thought, I don't need Tarpany because then one of those 4 is going to have to sit out, and that seemed kind of pointless. So what I thought is I'll bring in Toby Couchman because I probably did need a middle this week with the 2 Warriors guys out. And then I can park him on the bench next week. And then also the dual positioning is pretty handy moving forward. So, happy to have him in the team. And then with the news that Kale Iro was out, I sort of got forced into a 4th trade. So unfortunately, it was Brayley who had to go because the timeline of the injury. And looking ahead to next week, again, I really needed another edge to play alongside Kai Pearce-Paul. So I've gone for Tallis Duncan. There's a bit of chat he might move to the centres with David Fafita back in the team, but he's held his spot on the edge there, and Ewan Aitken's gone back to the bench. So, I think Duncan is a pretty decent option. The round 16 buy is not ideal, but I will have the Couchman brothers on deck for that. So I figured he's probably one I can carry, use him in round 18 as well, and round 19, I think, from memory. So I think, I was happy to bring in Tallis Duncan. So my team, looking to this week, I've ended up with 17. As I said, we're not expecting Kale Iro to play. I could try and loop him in, I suppose, but I'm pretty sure he's confirmed out already. I'll just wait for him to drop off the list. But we've got Pasco at hooker, and just, I guess, looking at the squad as a whole, it's probably the one weakness now is we're only carrying a single hooker, Pasco. But if we have a look at the fixtures, he does play up until round 18 is going to be the issue. Brayley's probably going to be out with the Origin anyway, so might be a case of we just run a player short, or we, a cheap hooker may crop up that we can sort of cash out a player anyway, and just park him at emergency 8 for the rest of the season. But I think in terms of the end of season team, we've probably got one too many wing fullbacks currently, given we've got the dual positions as well. Um, so Segwell and Papali, one of these guys, well, probably both these guys will eventually go. To be fair, but we can, definitely one of those slots will be for a hooker. Um, anyway, back to the team this week. We've got Yo, Toby Couchman, Terrell May in the middle, KPP, Ryan Couchman on the edge. So the Ryan Couchman's one that's got the dual position now as well, which pretty handy for our team. So we've gone from sort of having two edges last week to now having four edges in our squad. So a lot of versatility there. Campbell and Cleary in the halves, pretty rock solid. Farmworth, Chester at centre. Obviously, could put Kiraz or Bostock there now. And Farlango, Bostock, Kiraz in the wing fullback spots. And our four options on the bench, Duncan, decent. Zane Harrison's going to make a bit more cash. Segwell's obviously going to make cash, which is fine. Papali's getting close, but he gives us an option next week without having to make a trade. So, given we've only got 5 trades until round 20, we still have the round 18, 19 bye period to get through as well. As I said, I think I've finessed this all right with, the Warriors guys will play 15 and 16. It'll be the South guys won't play 16. Don't have Broncos, and the third team escapes me, but I think whichever way you slice it, we're pretty set for round 16 as well. So, unlike this first bye period, with all the injuries sort of creating a bit of an issue, and we've obviously used the trades, we've been a bit smart with who we've targeted moving forward. So, in terms of the captain, vice captain this week, May into Cleary. I think it's a pretty conservative choice, but whatever. But yeah, that's the team going into round 14. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the NRL Fantasy content. Subscribe for all the other fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.